The millionaire hides to eat leftovers with his employee, but what happens next is unbelievable. Jake Donovan stood at the edge of the gala, where chandeliers sparkled like constellations over the crowd of high society elites. The air buzzed with laughter, the clinking of crystal glasses echoing stories of power and influence. But Jake felt like a ghost among them. In his world, where he was the tech mogul everyone admired, he felt trapped in a gilded cage, suffocated by expectations and the bright smiles that felt hollow. He cast a furtive glance towards the exit, secure in his knowledge that no one would think to look for him there. Jake slipped away, unnoticed, under a cascade of silk and sequins, heading to his penthouse high above the city. The moment he stepped inside, the cool air embraced him like an old friend. "Mia," he called. Mia was already setting the tiny dining table, her energy a warm contrast to the cold steel of his business world. She had been with him through every late night and early morning, sharing countless shifts as they reshaped the future. Her laughter bubbled light, washing away the heavy facade he wore in public. "Made it just in time for leftover Thai," she chimed, her face sparkling with mischief. As they dug into the crumpled containers, the familiar taste of the cold rice and spicy curry wrapped around them like a blanket, drawing them back to simple moments. They laughed over past blunders, swapping stories of embarrassing dates and forgotten passwords. Between bites, they cracked open fortune cookies, which had long been a ritual they reinforced with each other as a small escape from the complexities of their lives. Jake's fortune read, "A daring opportunity will soon present itself." He chuckled, but there was an edge of tension in his voice. "How ominous," he said, linking it to the endless pressure from investors who always expected more. Always wanted more. But Mia's eyes widened as she picked through her own cookie. "Yours is nothing. Mine says, beware of a dark cloud on the horizon." A tension settled in the air, thick and sharp like the night. Jake felt his heart race, unease prickling at the back of his mind. What if there was a truth to these childish whims? He didn't let it show, but Mia sensed his shift. As she glanced toward the window, the enormity of his empire weighed heavy between them. Their laughter now condensed into whispered fears of vulnerability. Just then his phone buzzed, dragging him back into the chaos. A name flashed across the screen. Marcus Caldwell, his closest rival, a man who would not think twice about exploiting any weakness Jake had. The smile on Mia's face faltered, realization hitting her like a cold wind. "He knows something," she murmured, her brow furrowing with concern. What were they missing? The night spiraled inward, the leftovers holding a mirror to their pasts. They were swirling through possibilities and obstacles, secrets and alliances. Together, they would have to face the menace looming just out of sight. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact." Jake's heart raced as he stared at the phone. Marcus Caldwell. Rivals weren't just competitors, they were predators. "I can handle this," Jake muttered, mostly to himself. But Mia's myriad eyes told a different story. "Jake, what if he knows about the new project?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. As the words hung in the air, the weight of dread settled like lead in his stomach. He swiped the screen, his thumb hovering over the call button. The night felt magnetic, pulling them deeper into a web of uncertainty. "I'll call him back," he finally said. "Just give me a minute." They stopped eating, the half-eaten containers bringing an awkward stillness. It was as if the remnants of their meal now held a secret too heavy to bear. "Maybe we should take this seriously, Jake," she urged, leaning closer, her expression pleading. "What if he's planning something? Suddenly, the lights flickered, the electricity buzzed, then dimmed. An eerie silence filled the room, amplified by the distant city sounds, muffled behind tinted windows. Jake shot up, heart pounding. Just a blackout, he reassured her, though even he felt the chill creeping in. Then, the door burst open. A figure stood silhouetted against the flashing city lights. Their breathless friend, Benny, wide-eyed and panting. "Jake, Mia, you have to come quick." "What's happening?" Jake demanded, dread pooling in his chest. "Something's gone down. It's Marcus. He's been found dead." The words hit like a punch to the gut. Jake's mind raced. "Dead? What do you mean?" Benny's expression was grim. "They found his body in his penthouse. It's all over the news. They think it's foul play. Someone was there with him." Mia gasped, a cold hand clutching Jake's arm. Oh my God. Jake, what if he was? The realization struck Jake like a bolt of lightning. What if he was planning to expose something? Something about me? "Mia?" Benny interrupted, his voice trembling. "I just saw the news. It doesn't look like a simple crime. There's talk about something huge that he discovered. And," he paused, swallowing hard, "and they mentioned a tech manipulation scheme linked to you." "What?" Jake exclaimed, disbelief crashing over him like a wave. "The police are saying it's still early, but you need to be careful. They might want to talk to you." Jake felt the room spinning, their laughter over cold leftovers, now a distant memory. There was a sudden urgency in the air, a cold grip tightening around his throat. Tears pricked Mia's eyes, reflecting panic. "We need to hide." But before they could react, Jake's phone buzzed again, shattering the tension. A text message lit up the screen from an unknown number. "I know what you did. You're next." Chilled to the bone, Jake felt the walls of his world collapsing. Every success, every decision, clawed back to bite him. "How did they find out?" he whispered, feeling the weight of the universe on his shoulders. Then came the sound of sirens outside, blaring like an alarm bell in a silent night. Panic surged through his veins, a desperate fire igniting inside him. "We need to figure this out, now." He grabbed Mia's hand, adrenaline propelling them toward the door. But deep inside, a seed of doubt was planted. Could one of them be behind this? As the sirens grew louder, uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Did he really know the people he trusted, or was everything a lie? As they slipped into the darkened hallway, unanswered questions spun like a whirlwind around them. Jake's heart pounded as they slipped into the darkened hallway, urgency and fear blending like night and day. They moved fast, footsteps muted against the polished floor. Mia's fingers trembled in his grip, her wide eyes bright with panic. "What do we do?" she whispered, but he didn't answer. He couldn't. A loud crash echoed from somewhere below, slicing through the silence. The sound ricocheted off the walls, making Jake jump. "Did you hear that?" he hissed. He glanced back towards the door, half tempted to bolt back inside. But the sirens blared louder, and reality crashed in. They couldn't stay there. They hurried down the hall, peering into shadows, clinging to the fleeting hope that maybe, just maybe, they could avoid the chaos. Jake turned the corner, and then Benny, their friend, stumbled into view, eyes wild with something more than just urgency. "You need to see this." He clutched his phone, but the screen flickered with news alerts. "There's more. It's not just Marcus. There are—" Benny's words got caught in his throat. A tense silence swallowed the air around them. "What? What is it?" Jake pressed, dread starting to churn inside him. "Multiple deaths, Jake. Important people in our industry. All connected to—" Before he could say another word, the ground shook beneath them. It felt like an earthquake, but his mind whispered paranoia. Not possible. Not here. A low rumble morphed into a blast, and low-grade panic erupted. Jake grabbed Mia, pulling her closer, trying to shield her. "What the hell is happening?" The lights flickered violently overhead, and all at once, a shuddering explosion ripped through the floor below. Jake felt the vibrations surge through his feet, his heart racing like a trapped animal. The building was under attack. No. No, no, no. He wanted to scream, but the impending chaos held the words captive. "Jake," Mia's voice cut through the panic. "We need to go. Now." But before they could react, his phone buzzed again, this time vibrating like it had a life of its own. The screen lit up with a message that sent ice rushing through him. "I know what you're hiding. They're coming for you." "Hide," Benny barked, his face pale with terror. Without thinking, they darted into an empty apartment, hearts racing, breaths shaky. The sound of shattering glass erupted from the floor below, mingling with the blaring sirens outside. Inside the apartment, Jake pressed, his back against the wall, breathing heavy. "What's happening?" Mia whimpered, her eyes darting around. The fear wrapped around him, squeezing tight. But then something beyond reason skated through his thoughts. What if this is all a setup? The words slipped out before he could filter them. "Jake, don't." Mia's voice shook, panic streaking across her features. "You're not saying it could be one of us? Think about it, Mia. All the recent moves, the tension with Marcus, he knew something. Did you ever think it could be someone in our circle?" Tension ignited like wildfire between them, accusations hanging heavy in the air. "I can't believe you." But Benny interrupted with a quick wave. "Don't fight. We have to figure this out." He thumbed through his phone, eyes glued to the screen. Suddenly, his expression shifted. Wait. Both Jake and Mia leaned in, curiosity sparking through the terror. "What?" Benny met their eyes, horror painted across his face. "This just in. There's a connection to you, Jake. It's not just about tech manipulation. That missing money, it's linked to a secret fund from your own company." "What?" They gasped in unison. The implications slammed into Jake's gut, knocking the breath from him. "They want you framed," Benny's voice trembled. "They mean to take you down," and just like that, the tables had turned. Everything he thought he knew shattered, revealing an unsteady ground underneath. Was Mia in on it? Was Benny? The door flew open. As chaos spread like ink across his world, a man in a dark suit rushing in. "You need to come with me." "Who are you?" Jake demanded, every fiber in him screaming distrust. "Now's not the time." The man's voice cut through the rising storm. Fear dripped into the cracks of his authoritative tone. "They won't stop until you're—" But before he could finish, the building shook again, louder this time. Dust rained down from the ceiling. In that moment, Jake felt the ground beneath him swallow his composure whole. He darted a gaze at Mia. Who could he trust? Was he a target? Or were they all in on it, surrounding him like wolves with blood on their fangs? "Go!" he shouted, adrenaline surging. Whatever was coming for him, he couldn't face it alone. But then, from the hallway, another voice emerged. One he never expected to hear. "Jake, don't you remember me?" It froze him on the spot. The twist of fate cut deeper than a knife. It was her, the girl from his past, Liz. All the memories of pain and betrayal flooded back, and everything spiraled into uncertainty. Just when he thought it couldn't get crazier, this name slammed the door shut on his safety. "Run!" he yelled. But inside, he was left gasping for air. How far had he fallen? Did he even know who he really was? A tangled web awaited, and somewhere in every fiber of the chaos lay the truth he never wanted to face. "Run!" Jake shouted, panic gripping every word. But Liz's presence froze him. Her familiar face felt like a whirlwind of confusion and betrayal. How was she here? What was she doing with them now? "Jake, please, you need to listen." Liz's voice pierced through the chaos, but all he could think was how she was part of a past he wanted to forget. The girl he once trusted. "Shut up," he snapped, but his voice trembled. It was like drowning in a sea of memories. They had shared dreams, laughter, and heartbreaks. But betrayal? It hung between them like a dark cloud. The explosions from below brought him back, urging him to act. "We can't stay here." Mia turned, hands shaking with fear. "Jake, we have to go." Benny's eyes darted between them, fear now laced with disbelief. "What do you mean, Liz? How do you even know my name?" He flinched at Benny's accusing tone. "I know you all, everything about you." Liz's voice cracked, desperation spilling into the room. "He's coming for you, Jake. You have to understand, this is bigger than us." "Bigger?" Jake scoffed, pain swirling in his gut. "You're the one who left. You're the one who disappeared. And now, what? You just show up and expect trust?" "I had to," she snapped, eyes blazing. "I didn't disappear. I was pushed out. Marcus, he knew about all of us. He was the one pulling the strings. He set this whole thing up to frame you." Jake felt the ground beneath him shift. "Frame me?" he echoed, confusion spiraling. "What are you talking about? He's dead." "He's dead because he knew too much. I thought I could protect you, but I became the target." Liz stepped closer, the heat of her urgency wrapping around him like a rope. "Jake, I was blackmailed into silence. They want you out of the way, and I'm the only one who can help." "Help or betray?" Cutting through the thick tension. "We can't just trust her again, can we?" But before Liz could respond, a loud blast echoed from behind them. The door splintered as a masked figure lunged into the room, chaos erupting around them. "Run!" Jake yelled, adrenaline flooding his veins. "Now!" They stumbled backward, scrambling for the window, but Benny was still glued to his spot, staring at the newcomer. "No, wait!" But it was too late. Jake pushed Mia ahead, shoving Liz out of the way. But then, in the midst of the chaos, Jake caught a glimpse of a reflection in the masked figure's eyes. A flicker of recognition sent his heart plummeting. It was someone they knew. "Stop!" Jake shouted, voice thick with disbelief. "Who are you?" With a swift motion, the figure pulled down their mask, revealing a familiar face. "It's me, Jake." Jake's mind spun. "What? How? Why are you doing this?" And just like that, everything he thought he knew shattered. The person he had trusted more than anyone else, standing there, eyes fierce and desperate, ready to destroy his world. "Because I have to," they shouted, panic intertwining with anger. "This is the only way we can end it. All of it. But end what?" Confusion twisted into a knot in Jake's stomach. The stakes had risen, and he felt everything slipping through his fingers. "Run!" Mia's voice snapped him back. "We can't waste time." But Jake hesitated. Questions swirled in his mind like a storm cloud ready to burst. Who really wanted to frame him? Who could he trust? And what did Liz mean? As they raced past bodies of confusion and chaos, Jake's heart pounded in his chest. Could he really believe in anyone? Or was everyone playing a part in this twisted game? The truth felt closer yet more elusive than ever. The walls were closing in, and he needed to figure out what was real before it consumed him. Maybe it's not too late to change the game after all, he thought, uncertainty gnawing at him as they fled into the unknown. A web of lies was tightening, but which threads would reveal the truth, or ensnare him forever? Jake's heart raced as they dashed down the dimly lit hall, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The familiar face had shattered everything he believed about his world. Liz, the girl who vanished, had just shown up like a ghost from the past, and now there was chaos swirling around them. "Who are you working for?" he shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. He wanted to believe her, but trust had become a scarce commodity. The masked figure loomed behind them, eyes wild with fear and purpose. "Jake, we don't have time," Liz urged, gripping his arm tight. "You need to listen. The people after you, they're not who you think." They hurried past Benny and Mia, the urgency of their escape heavy in the air. "We can't let them catch us here," Mia whispered, her voice shaking. But Jake had to know. "Liz, if you really wanted to help, why didn't you come sooner?" "Because I was scared." Her voice rose, tears gleaming in her eyes. "Scared of what they would do to you? Scared of what they did to me." A loud crash echoed from the stairwell, and they bolted for the elevators. The masked figure from earlier was close behind them, a murk of shadows blending in the chaos. Jake pressed the elevator button, a flicker of hope fluttering in his chest. Please work," he murmured. But before the doors could slide open, the lights above flickered violently, and something heavy hit the ground behind them. Jake turned to see the masked figure charging. "Run," he yelled, but Liz grabbed him, her face tightening with fear. "It's not safe." And then, in a sickening instant, everything went black. The power cut out, plunging them into darkness of suffocating. Silence enveloping them. "Jake?" Mia's voice trembled, desperation twisting the syllables. "Here!" He waved his hands through the dark, panic snaking in his chest. He could hear breathing, quick and ragged. Not just his, theirs too. The elevator doors suddenly opened with a soft ding, and they stumbled in, a whirlwind of tangled limbs, their breaths coming fast. As the doors closed, Jake gripped the rail, staring at Liz. "What's going on?" "I'm telling you." Her voice cracked. "They're not just after you. They wanted you to help them take down Marcus, but that was a lie. They're using you." And then, just like that, with a loud bang on the roof of the elevator, the world shifted. A jolt, and the elevator began to fall. Screams erupted around him as they dropped. Jake's heart lurched and he fumbled for the emergency button. "Hold on," he yelled, but the descent felt eternal. But then something else shook through the metal walls. A voice. A muffled shout from above. Familiar. "Jake, it's me. Please get out." Panic coursed through him like ice. "Who is that?" Mia gasped. "It can't be. No." And then the elevator jolted to a stop with a heart-stopping sound. And the doors sprang open violently, sending light flooding in, illuminating the chaos around them. There stood a figure he couldn't believe. His brother, Alex. "What the hell are you doing here?" Jake shouted, confusion twisting like a knife in his gut. "I'm here to save you," Alex barked, urgency driving every syllable. "But we need to move. They're coming." "Who's coming?" Jake demanded, eyes wide. "Everyone." Alex's gaze shifted, panic flickering across his features. "And you're not going to like who's behind this." Before Jake could process that, the masked figure lunged into view. But this time, Alex stepped in front, pulling something from his pocket. A glint caught Jake's eye, something sharp. "Alex, don't!" Jake shouted, confusion merging with fear. But Alex's expression shifted. Something dark flickered in his eyes. "I have to protect you," he said. And just like that, it became clear. The brother he once trusted was entwined in all of this too. "Protect me or betray me," Jake whispered, the words hitching in his throat. Everything he believed was crumbling away. And now as Alex faced the masked figure, Jake could only question the truth behind every moment, every choice leading to this chaotic nexus. "Jake!" Mia's shout broke through the noise, but it felt like echoes in a dark tunnel. "What do we do?" And in that heartbeat of confusion, Jake realized the answers he sought lay deeper than he ever imagined, buried in the shadows of betrayal around him. What had he stepped into? Who could he trust to keep him alive? Jake's heart raced as he watched his brother Alex, standing there with tension rippling through the air. The weight of uncertainty sank deep in his gut. "What are you doing here?" Jake barked, bewilderment collapsing into anger. "Jake, you don't understand," Alex shouted back, his eyes darting to the still looming masked figure, as if time were running out. "I'm here to help you, but we have to move now." Mia pressed her back against the wall, breaths quickening. "Help? Or are you part of this too?" Her gaze shot between Jake and Alex, fear evident and mixing confusion with suspicion. "Just trust me," Alex exclaimed, but every syllable was laced with desperation. Marcus was about to expose everything. He knew too much, and this isn't just about him. They're coming for all of us. Jake felt the walls of reality closing in. "Coming for us? What do you mean? Who are they?" Suddenly, the masked figure lunged forward, and without a second thought, Alex stepped in front of them. "Stay back," he yelled, pulling something shiny from his pocket. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a small device. "What are you planning to do?" Jake's pulse thundered in his ears. "I have to stop this. I have to protect you." Alex's voice broke, determination hardening his features. "By attacking? Jake shook his head, disbelief rippling through him. But before Alex could respond, the masked figure reached forward, and a struggle broke out. Jake could barely see what was happening. A blur of hands, a flash of metal, and a cry echoed in the hallway. "Jake, help!" Liz screamed, her face twisted in horror. Jake felt paralyzed as he watched, fear clawing at him. Then everything shifted. With a swift, fluid motion, the masked figure spun around and boom! A deafening blast filled the corridor, a shockwave that knocked everyone backward. The walls shuddered as debris fell from the ceiling, choking the air with dust. When the smoke cleared, Jake blinked through the haze, eyes wide. The figure was gone, leaving only echoes of chaos. But that wasn't the only thing he noticed. Alex lay on the ground, his face pale, and in his hand something glimmered, a blood-stained pin, a symbol Jake recognized instantly, the insignia of a corporation he had fought against, the one his father worked for. No, it can't be. Jake dropped to his knees beside Alex, confusion blending with horror. You worked for them." Alex's eyes fluttered open, a pained gasp escaping his lips. "I had to protect you from the truth." "What truth?" Jake choked out, the betrayal slicing deeper than any blade. But then, as though some twisted fate had orchestrated this moment, the elevator behind them opened with a soft chime. Suddenly, a group of well-dressed individuals stood there, cameras flashing, reporters pushing through, their eyes glinting with interest. "What the?" Jake stared in disbelief. "No, they found us," Mia panic-stricken, pulling him back, but it was too late. The crowd surged forward. "Jake Donovan, is it true your brother is involved in the tech criminal activity tied to Marcus Caldwell?" One reporter shouted. The room spun again as the questions rained down, sharp and accusing. Everything they'd worked for, every piece of trust, crumbling in an instant. Jake felt the floor drop beneath him. "Alex," he whispered, a lump creeping up his throat. "What have you done?" But then it hit him. The world around him faded, a dark truth coiling in festering shadows. "Help!" Alex's voice trembled as hands grabbed him. "You don't understand." But before he could finish, the crowd surged forward again, cameras flashing like shooting stars in the chaos. And as Jake staggered back, confusion mixing with sheer terror, a new thought clawed its way to the surface. Had everything been a facade? Were they all just players in a game he never agreed to play? The questions swirled like a tempest in his mind, and as the walls closed in around him, Jake realized something. The truth was far darker than he'd ever believed. Right at the pivotal moment, a gunshot rang out. Everything stopped. And in that silence, as fear gripped him like ice, Jake turned to face the crowd, knowing one thing for sure: nothing would ever be the same again. What was hidden in plain sight, and who was truly pulling the strings? The gunshot echoed like thunder in a silent storm, freezing Jake in place. Time stretched, each second feeling like an eternity. The world blurred around him, the flashing cameras, the concerned faces, and the chaos morphed into a single, deafening noise. Heart pounding, he spun. To Alex, desperation clawing at him. "Get down!" Jake yelled, grabbing Mia and pulling her behind him. He felt the rush of human instincts, battling against the doubt coiling in his gut. But Alex, he was still standing there, confusion clouding his features. "It wasn't supposed to go this way," Alex shouted, eyes darting around, searching for answers that weren't there. "Alex, what did you do?" Jake's voice pierced through the hysteria. Why would someone shoot here? A shiver ran down his spine, a sick mix of fear and anger. Then, in the chaos, a loud crash rang out. The main entrance doors burst open, scattering bystanders like leaves in a storm. A group of heavily armed men stormed in, and the air shifted to something heavier, darker, a weight of impending dread. "Get down, now!" one of them bellowed, masked faces imposing and menacing. Jake felt a jolt of panic rise, pushing through him like electricity. "We need to run!" He dragged Mia towards the stairs, but Alex grabbed him, eyes wide with terror. We can't. Why not? Jake shouted, frustration tangling with fear. That's what they want. They're here for you. What? The world tilted, truth crashing into him like a tidal wave. Why? Before Alex could answer, another gunshot rang out, this time too close, a scream echoing through the crowd behind them. The sight of people falling, of fear lurking in every corner, sent Jake's heart racing. Suddenly it all pushed in on him. The chaos, the past, the impending doom. And amid it all, a chilling voice cut through the chaos. You think you can run, Jake? You're part of this, just like me. Eyes wide, Jake whipped around to find Liz standing in front of him. A wicked smile spreading across her face, her stance now defiant. What? He choked, confusion twisting like a knife within him. Why are you doing this? I had to get you here. Her eyes glinted, something dark swimming within them. You were never supposed to be the hero. You were always the pawn, and just like that, everything shifted. The trust he clung to shattered, crumbling like dry leaves. This was all a game to you? Were you ever honest? A slow smirk danced across her lips. Honesty is a luxury, Jake. It's about survival, and she leaned closer, you've always been the greatest threat. Everything in him swirled, the noise faded, and only her words echoed, dimming the urgency of the chaos around them. But I thought. He felt hot, betrayal burning beneath his skin. We were friends. We were supposed to... Friends? Liz interjected, her voice slicing through his stunned silence. You don't get it, do you? We're not friends. This is war. Something snapped within him, a realization that seared the fog of confusion. The pieces fell into place. You were working with Caldwell? Her smile faltered for a beat, but she quickly regained her composure. Not just Caldwell. Everyone you trust, they're in on it. The air turned thick with disbelief. It felt like ice spreading through his veins. Benny, Mia, especially them. And just as the words left Liz's mouth, everything erupted. An explosion rocked the floor, the lights flickered violently, and the glass windows shattered. The world splintered into chaos as they all fought for survival amid the flash of gunfire and the clamor of destruction. Jake stumbled backward, dazed, shouting for Mia and Benny. But the explosions drowned him out. The scenery erupted in flames. Then a loud crash echoed as a partial wall collapsed, sending debris flying toward them. Jake dove, knocking Mia out of the way, but as he turned to look back at Alex, the scene froze. Alex, he yelled, panic gripping him. And Jake saw it. A flash of betrayal in Alex's eyes. A fleeting moment, a choice made. He wasn't just a pawn standing by. He was a player too. Alex's voice cracked, but then he was shoved aside. Terror rippled through every fiber in Jake's being. You were in on it, weren't you? But as the chaos continued to unfold, a loud roar echoed from above, drowning out everything else. The ceiling began to crack, and for Jake, that's when everything shattered again. The light dimmed, but he saw Liz pointing upward, the cruel smirk returning. Goodbye, Jake. And in that moment, it all twisted. The truth, the betrayals, it felt like stepping off the edge of a cliff into darkness. As the ceiling caved in, Jake held his breath. Was this the end, or just the beginning of something far more twisted? The ceiling gave way with a deafening crash. Dust and debris rained down, and for a moment everything went silent. Jake's heart pounded, mind racing, as the world around him teetered on the edge of chaos. He felt the cold grip of fear tighten around his chest. Had this been the end? Then the dust settled, and he blinked through the haze. It was so quiet now. The echoes of chaos faded into distant murmurs. Alex lay still on the ground, his eyes staring wide, shock written all over his face. Alex, Jake shouted, scrambling to reach him. Get up. He touched Alex's shoulder, the warmth fading beneath his fingertips. Stay back. Liz's voice shattered the silence like glass. He's not who you think. Her eyes flickered with something darker, a truth she wasn't ready to reveal. What do you mean? Panic surged through Jake's veins. What have you done? But before Liz could respond, the lights flickered and came back on. Instead of the chaos he expected, they were in the eye of the storm. Everything around them was oddly still. And then came the voice, deep and commanding, slicing through the tension. Enough. Jake turned, his heart dropping. Standing framed in the shattered doorway was a figure he never expected. It was Marcus Caldwell, or a ghost of him drenched in shadows, eyes gleaming with an unsettling intensity. But he was not just alive. He looked more powerful than ever. What? Jake's voice faltered between hope and dread. You're supposed to be dead. Oh dear Jake, Marcus replied, a chilling smile spreading across his lips. That was just a little illusion, a means to an end, you see. I'm still very much in control. The pieces fell together, suddenly everything aligning, in a horrifying clarity. Alex was working for him. The betrayal hit harder than any weapon. You played us all? Jake's voice trembled as rage bubbled beneath the surface. It's not just that, brother, Alex croaked, trying to push himself up. It was never just about you. It's about the bigger picture. What bigger picture? Mia shouted, her fists clenched in disbelief. And here's the twist. Marcus leaned closer, his voice laced with a sinister glee. Alex is more than just your brother. He's been my right hand, but that's not all. You see, Jake, he was the one who tipped me off about your little project last year. I've been watching you closely. Jake's breath caught. No, it couldn't be. His stomach twisted in a knot. Understanding clawing at him. Alex, you betrayed me for him? All this? I had a choice. Alex's voice cracked, filled with a mix of desperation and regret. You don't understand the forces at play. This wasn't just business. It's survival. Survival? Jake shook his head, the air thick with disbelief. You turned your back. Enough, Marcus interjected, his voice booming. Listen closely, because you're about to learn the truth. He stepped back, gesturing as if revealing a grand performance. Suddenly, the walls illuminated with screens flashing images of each person they knew. Friends, rivals, even family. All caught in a web spun by Marcus. Every alliance, every betrayal unfolds from here. You all think you're players in this game, but you're simply pawns in mine. Jake felt ice run through his veins. Liz watched in horror, shock morphing into rage. You told us you were helping. You tricked me. Marcus smiled, a predator savoring his prey. Help? Oh no, sweet Liz. You're just as tangled as they are. It's about taking the throne. The revelation slammed into Jake. His world spun away like leaves in a storm. You're after control. But why? You're already powerful. Because power can be taken. Control needs to be maintained. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place, each one revealing a devious arrangement he'd been blind to. Friends were enemies, and enemies were players for a throne. Jake turned to Alex, desperation in his eyes. What have you done? And just as clarity broke, a fracture deepened. An explosion thundered from the side, sending Jake sprawling back. No, he yelled, scrambling to his feet. But as he looked up, a rolling wave of realization washed over him. The darkness faded, revealing a path, but not one he wanted to take. And in that moment, under the flickering lights, Jake knew one thing. This had only just begun. What would he choose? Would he fight back, or fall into Marcus's trap? The shadows loomed, and the truth lay tangled in lies. As everything collapsed around them, Jake felt the weight of his decisions gain momentum, leading him to an unprecedented choice that no one could predict. Everything he thought was safe began to unravel. Who would remain when the dust finally settled? The ceiling came crashing down. Shadows danced in the dust, and all Jake could hear was the pounding of his heart. Confusion wrapped around him, suffocating. Alex lay motionless, and the moment felt heavy, saturated with unanswered Questions. "Alex," he shouted again, but the noise around them churned into a thick blanket of chaos, muffling everything. "Jake," Mia cried, pulling at his sleeve, eyes wide with disbelief. "What do we do? We can't stay here." Marcus Caldwell stood there, the smirk still plastered on his face. Oh, it was all so beautifully orchestrated. "Your brother, he hoped to pick the right side, but it seems he picked wrong." Jake's throat felt tight. Betrayal stung deeper than the physical danger. "What did you mean, a pawn?" he demanded, refusing to be a victim. "Not now." "Because everything you built, it was just a means to an end, the perfect stage for my show, and you, my dear Jake, were always the star. Star. You think this is a game?" His voice cracked, fear mixing with anger. "You're a monster!" But before Marcus could respond, an explosion rattled the walls again, and a scream erupted from the crowd. It shattered the moment, sending people running. Jake turned back to Alex. He was stirring, but confusion clouded his eyes. "What happened?" "Help!" Liz shrieked from somewhere behind Jake. "They're coming!" "Don't move," Marcus called out, pointing a finger, eyes gleaming with delight. "This will all end soon." A sudden crash reverberated, and the doors burst open. The shadowy figures piled in, demanding control like vultures over a carcass. Panic surged, and Jake felt trapped. But then, from the back of the room, a blinding light illuminated the chaos, freezing everyone in their tracks. Jake squinted, heart racing as a figure stepped into view, lit like an angel emerging from darkness. It was his father. "Dad!" Jake gasped, disbelief mixing with hope. "Get away from him!" his father barked, stepping between them and Marcus, eyes fierce and purposeful. "This ends now." "Ah, the prodigal son returns," Marcus mocked. But Jake's father didn't flinch. "What are you doing here?" Jake felt a rush of confusion, desperation coating his voice. Secrets piled like stones between them. "I've come to save you," his father replied, voice steady but heavy with emotion. "But you need to trust me." "Trust?" Jake shook his head, anger bubbling. "After all this? After everything?" But before he could say more, Marcus laughed darkly, shoving past shadows. "You still don't know, do you, what it means to be part of this family?" Suddenly, Jake's world twisted. The walls felt like they were closing in. "Family?" he echoed, heart pounding. His father turned, desperation in his eyes. "Now's not the time, Jake. We need to get out of here." "Why did you leave us? Why?" And then, with a sickening twist, Liz stepped forward. "Because you were never meant to find out." Every eye turned on her, the disbelief hitting like a cold wave. "What are you talking about?" Mia whispered, fear etched into her face. "The truth is," Liz faltered, then took a breath. "We're all part of something bigger, something you don't even understand." And in that moment, everything fractured. Liz's eyes caught with Alex's, and something unspoken passed between them. Jake looked from one to the other, confusion morphing into dread. "What? No, you're lying." "Am I?" Liz said, her voice tight. "Maybe you should take a look at that pin again." Marcus's cryptic grin widened, and time seemed to stop. Everything around Jake blurred. The revelation crashed in. He glanced down at the pin in Alex's hand, the insignia of a corporation twisted in secrets. "What? You?" Then everything shifted again. The lights flickered, and in those shadows, something dangerous stirred. "I never wanted this for you," Alex's voice lurched. "But this was always our destiny." And in that moment, with hope flickering, like a candle in the storm, Jake realized he was caught in a web darker than he ever anticipated. Betrayal, secrets, everything was bound together. But why? And more importantly, who could he trust? As the ground quaked again, Jake stood there, heart pounding, filled with dread. What lay beneath the truth they all buried? And only then did he feel it, the pulse of something larger at work. The lies had taken root, and now they were grown into something monstrous. What had been hidden, and what would it cost to uncover it? The dust settled, and in the silence that followed the chaos, everything felt suspended. Jake stood there, heart hammering, eyes darting between the shattered remnants of his past and the looming shadows of his future. Alex lay slumped against the wall, blood seeping from a cut on his forehead, but behind him, a burning resolve ignited. "Now is our chance," Jake shouted, urgency surging through him. "We can't let him dictate our fate." Mia took a step forward. "What do we do?" Her voice trembled, but her gaze hardened with determination. "We go after Marcus," Jake replied, a fire lighting his chest. "Expose him for what he's done." As if sensing the shift in the room, Marcus stepped back, eyes glinting with malice. "You think you can play against me? This is far beyond your understanding." "What you don't realize," Jake said, taking a bold step forward, "is that you underestimated the power of loyalty and truth. This is a reckoning." At that moment, Liz moved closer, fear and guilt mingling in her expression. "Jake, I never wanted this. I was trapped. I thought I could keep you safe." The weight of her words settled heavily in the charged air. "Safe?" he echoed, disbelief marking his features. "You put us in danger. But maybe we can turn this around, together." "Together?" Alex stirred, looking between them. "After all this, how can we trust anyone? Enemies are everywhere." "Because trust is the only weapon we have left," Jake declared, a hard edge in his voice. "If we expose Marcus and the corruption within our own walls, we can save what's left of our lives." Murmurs rippled around the room, uncertainty colliding with hope. "Trust me, Alex," Jake said, extending a hand. "We can find a way through this darkness, but we need each other." Slowly, Alex nodded, pushing himself up, pain etching deeper lines on his face. The determination shone in his eyes as he took Jake's hand. "Okay, let's put an end to this." With renewed purpose, they turned toward Marcus, who remained frozen, watching them with amusement that quickly faded into rage. "You think you can stop this? I own this city." "Not anymore," Jake shot back, his voice unwavering. And as the tide shifted, they charged forward, a united front against the darkness. Together, they pushed through the doorway, confronting the chaos that awaited outside, knowing the world beyond was alive with whispers and dangers. Outside, the street overflowed with confused bystanders and reporters buzzing like wasps. "Jake, over here," familiar faces called, their expressions a mix of shock and intrigue. "Listen," Jake shouted, commanding the crowd's attention. "What you see is a facade. This isn't a story about betrayal. It's a call to action. We need to stand together against the powers that have manipulated us." Gasps rippled through the crowd. He locked eyes with Mia, then with Alex and Liz. The connection, the shared pain. This was their moment. As murmurs turned into collective urgency, murmurs of agreement rippled through the throng. They were turning fear into courage. Then Alex took the lead, rallying others. "We need to expose them. Let's gather evidence, share our stories, show them who we really are." Jake felt the spark ignite within him. Every whispered secret, every shrouded truth now fought to emerge, and as the crowd surged around them, hope cracked through the tension like dawn breaking over a long night. In that moment, they weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for each other. They were reborn, and together, they pressed forward toward justice. As the dust settled on their chaotic surroundings, Jake knew they had turned a corner. Relationships were forged anew, and the truth would shine its light on those who sought to engulf them in darkness. And as they stood hand in hand on the precipice of a new beginning, Jake realized this wasn't just the end of a chapter. It was the dawn of a new story. Now, if you found this story gripping, if the twists and turns left you breathless, this is your chance to take action. Make sure you subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Hit that red button now. And smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Your support means the world. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this shocking ending. Let's hear what you think about our characters' fates. Don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your support keeps this story alive.